you doing?
We're good today. Just got done. We had workouts this morning on the field at Fisher Field, and then we had some offensive coaches meetings this morning also.
Yep, and now you're here doing community service stuff.
Yes,
it's just always going.
Well, Andy, thanks for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to come and visit with you today.
Yeah, Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time to be here for 1,000 reasons. We've been talking to some other coaches, and there's some other people that have asked to come on, and I said, I can't do that until I get Coach Slade, man. He's our guy, and until we do our local people, we can't bring in anybody else. Well, we're going to do this right.
All right, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, I appreciate your leadership. So I'm networked with a bunch of different coaches for a bunch of different reasons. And I will tell you, there's a camp or something here recently, and people kind of take a vibe on what's going on. And the stuff that I'm hearing in the community about just what you're doing and how you're transforming lives. You have a total transformational style, which is what we've been talking about a lot when it comes to athletics and sports. And I really appreciate you taking the time to pour in your leadership and your skill set to understanding the bigger picture of athletics and what that does. And it's athletics and activities, right? Any kind of hobby a kiddo has.
Yeah, I mean, what a great opportunity I had when I came to Newton, just to be just not the head football coach, but part of the athletic department activities and being involved with that. It's given me an opportunity to see a little bit of everything athletically and activity-wise.
Right. So the people that don't know you, Coach, you are a coaching now here in Newton, USD 373, the coach in the Railers, and we appreciate you for coming out of retirement to come in to pour back in.
Well, I really was never retired. I retired from the state of Kansas, went over and taught a year in Missouri, and the last 3 years I taught till I came to Newton. I was an assistant. I was a head assistant coach at Blue Valley North in Belton, Missouri, and then I was also the O-line coach. And I just felt like, when I stepped down from campus, I was tired, but I was probably doing too much. I was the head football and track coach and assistant wrestling coach, so I was keeping pretty busy. And to give me that chance to get away for 3 years, I really evaluated what I thought was important as a head coach. And it's not like I coach for Coach Sims at Blue Valley North and Coach Vaughn at Belton. Love both of them, dearly. Still talk to them. Coach Vaughn and I went to the Chiefs-Jaguars game in January, with his wife and my wife and his brother. And we had that opportunity to learn some things, but some opportunities as an assistant coach you don't necessarily get unless you're the head coach. And I felt like the part that I think is important as being a head coach is just the relationships and the culture that we build with our team and our school.
That's huge and game changer for us, right? And we want to follow that leadership and fall behind the systems that you and Brian are putting together and support that. And it's a big job to have in a small community like ours. As you know, you've done this with a few different communities, and where you've come into a program, and the rumor is after you leave, that place is a little different. Where does that come from, man?
You asked me this question a couple months ago. What do I do different? And I just told you I do me, and the things that I've developed over the years, the things I've learned. My parents, both of my parents have passed. My mom's been gone since 2000, Dad 07. But Dad was pretty hard. He was hard on me, expected me to do things.
Yes, sir.
I was telling the kids a story the other day about, man, on Saturday morning when the lawnmower started, I was out of bed because I knew I was going to be in trouble if I wasn't out there mowing.
Yeah.
My mom is the gentle side of me, you see. She was a nurse for over 40 years and, spent a lot of time working with people. And I think between mom and dad, it really molded who I am.
That makes sense. So she was more of the bedside manner, calm, smooth spirit, and your dad was more of the you suck it up and get it done guy.
Yes.
What was your father's? Are you able to talk about his career? Like, what did he do? What built that guy?
My dad was a military guy. He was never in the war. He was stationed in New Orleans at the French quarters. matter of fact, he always told me his drill sergeant. I don't know if you would remember, and a lot of people, Coach James coached at Washington, the Washington Huskies for a long time, was my dad's drill sergeant in the military. So, but my dad worked for the Kansas Department of Health and Environment for 40 plus years, and he got up and went to work every day and came home, and he coached a lot of little league sports with us, basketball, baseball, and he never really coached any of my football teams, but it was always around, both mom and dad.
Super supportive, it sounds like. So you have a nurse and you have a military kind of guy that came through the government atmosphere, everything's structured, regimented systems. Yep. So, okay, so if I knew you in high school, Coach, who were you?
I've matured a lot since high school. My brother.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of three, and my brother and sister. My brother's 7 years older than me, and my sister's 10 years older than me. So I got bullied by them, but they made me a lot tougher. They were great. I love spending time with them now. We still are pretty close to each other. My brother lives in the Wichita area, and then my sister lives north of Kansas City.
Got it.
I talk to my brother, every week or every 2 weeks, and talk to sister a couple times a month too, if I can. And I think that part of it's normal, and I like the opportunity to spend time with them, and as our children get older, we're going different ways. And, but we still keep in contact. I played sports my whole life. Don't know anything different. In high school, I was really a four-sport athlete up till my senior year. My freshman and sophomore year, I played football, I played basketball, and I went out for track through the javelin, and then we didn't have high school baseball, so we played baseball spring, with a team outside of the high school and in the summer. So did that for my freshman and sophomore year, and then my junior year I wrestled, and then my senior year I did three. I did the football, track, and baseball, and didn't do anything in the winter. By that time, in the winter, kind of knew I was going to go play football somewhere. I went and played at Benedictine College, a small school. Yep. Gave me a great opportunity to decide what I wanted to do in life. I was for the last 2 years in high school, I was in auto mechanics for 2 hours a day class, and probably was pushing towards being a mechanic. I worked for a guy in the summer that rebuilt Volkswagens, and I helped him around his shop, and he'd trade me parts for my Volkswagen, and we had so that gave me an opportunity to learn a little bit about that. Not till I decided I was going to go to play football in college that I was going to go into teaching.
Got it.
My last semester in high school, I was a TA in the weight room, and I would go down and hang out with the adaptive PE class. And before I know it, I'm in there playing games with them. And so I went into special ed when I went into college as an educator.
Interesting. Hey, Coach, can you do me a favor? Can you move those off to the side?
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Was secondary ed, special education is what thought I was going to do. And, of course, I wanted to be a football coach. That was my dream. And then life happens, right? You just take different paths. But, yeah, it's interesting that path there towards your senior year when you start getting real with what your future might look like.
And, one of the things, school never came easy for me. I had to work really hard in school. College, I spent 5 years in college getting through. Now, I did come out of college. I was certified to teach special ed and elementary ed. So, the first couple of years, my dad thought I maybe majored in pool and not education. But, met met my spouse, my bride,
Yeah.
in college.
Okay.
She's a year younger than me, so when I was a sophomore, I met Lisa, uh, her freshman year, and we've pretty well been together since then. And we just celebrated our. I got to make sure I get this right. Our we just celebrated our 32nd anniversary.
What a blessing, dude. 32
Last
years.
week. Yeah. So
let me get this right. The Jeep you came in on, that is yours now?
yeah, that's what I get to drive.
But that was hers before?
When we first
She's
bought
got
it.
good taste.
Yeah.
That's a nice.
So
yeah.
she when we bought it, she drove it, and I mean, I drove it too, but I kind of that's how I willed the deal to get it bought. So.
Smart man, I get it.
Yes.
Right on. So you guys get married, or you met pretty young, so that you've been 32 years with your partner, and being a coach's wife, that comes with the whole. I mean, you have to be the right spouse for this.
She is a wonderful lady, and she when I first started teaching, I was teaching special ed, and I wasn't coaching. I remember calling Tom Young at Derby, who was there forever, and he's like, "Well, I don't really know you, so I don't. Right now, I'm going to go with this guy I know."
Yeah.
Even though the other guy hadn't played any college ball, he knew that guy. And getting into coaching when I came out was pretty hard. So my first year, I coached Special Olympic basketball. I was a volunteer middle school football coach. And then my first 2 years of coaching was volunteer at the middle school.
Mm.
And then the third year, I was an assistant at the middle school at Derby. And that was kind of when I was getting into coaching. And Lisa was pretty good. And, we worked, I coached a little league baseball team in the summer, just volunteered. We didn't have any kids yet. And I really enjoyed coaching, and I had always umpired baseball in the summers as a kid, and still was doing some high school baseball when I started teaching. And then my second year teaching, Eldon Edwards, who was the head wrestling coach at Derby, was like needed an assistant, and I said, well, I wrestled 1 year in high school. I wrestled up through 8th grade, club and middle school wrestling. So I really don't know much, but I know how to condition people. And so when he hired me, I came in. It was that was my first high school job, and I was a conditioning coach, and then I worked out with the heavyweights.
Man.
And one of the things when we talk about coaching, and I do this all the time, I was a clean slate when I started coaching wrestling because I really didn't know a lot of high-level technique. So I always tell people I was a really good JV wrestling coach because I learned the basics and had an opportunity to do that and, learn from some really good guys. And spent a lot of time on the mat when I was young.
Yeah.
And learned most of it from experience. So 3 years of middle school football. My wife really, at that point it wasn't like all in. I would go on Friday nights and scout Derby's next opponent. That was before, we were still using VHS back then. So we weren't even to disc yet. And,
Rewind.
Yeah,
play.
yeah. So we would go and take notes and draw plays up of the games.
All manually.
Yes.
That is
and then,
different world.
In '93, I became the freshman assistant coach at Derby, and so that's what my first year of coaching high school football, and then the next year. So in '93, we were pretty good. We lost in the finals, a game we probably should have won, and then in '94, I moved up to a varsity D-line coach. So that's where I was the rest of the time at Derby as a D-line coach, and learned a lot from Tom Young and Eldon Edwards, who was the head wrestling coach. I got to give them credit a lot too. And one of the things we should talk about a little before we get too far into this,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
maybe my college coach too. Angelo Kokolis was my high school football coach, and Angie was from back east. He had a thick Eastern accent, still does.
Real aggressive personality.
Yes,
Yeah,
very big guy.
Yeah.
And
East Coaster.
Loved him to death. And he was my coach at Topeka High, and he showed me how to work. And then Coach Wilcox at the college level at Benedictine is been there forever. He's been over. He graduated from Benedictine in '72, was an assistant till '79, and then was the head coach till 2 years ago. And my sophomore year in college, had an opportunity. We go to team camp up there. My sophomore year at college, this is kind of hurts on the heart a little sometimes to tell this, but I had to step away from football for a semester, or the second part of the season, because of grades. And partial with my parents and partial was Coach Wilcox. Obviously, I wanted to still play, but didn't have the opportunity to. But one of the things that I always, Coach Wilcox kind of showed me how to do things right.
Yes, sir.
And he did things right. And when I came back that spring, I came back on the team, and it was like I was never gone. Treated me the same, gave me the opportunity to get back into where I was at, and, gave me an opportunity to finish playing football in college. And, that would probably be one of the things that makes me the person I am. And I always talk to kids about grades.
Yes, sir.
And how important it is.
I just want to say real quick shout out to Ben Benavides. You're out there. Good stuff.
Yeah. So,
It matters.
So when we talk about that whole, my parents, coaches that have influenced me.
Yep.
Going back to Coach Edwards and Coach Young at Derby, they mentored me, and Coach Edwards was such a organized person all the time, and Tom Young was such a detail oriented coach. So organization, detail, got to learn, and then I get to bring my style of being a person into that also.
That's a beautiful thing. It's a well-rounded machine, and people with experience. See, what I'm hearing from you, Coach, is none of this was instant for you. Even going to the games and charting the way you used to have to chart. We have people complaining today with the tools and technology that we have today to do the same job that took you hours of driving sometimes just to get there and back, and making peanuts for even probably even sometimes spending your own money to get the job done because you were working for that position. Right. And the drill down, when people don't understand, and this will go into the leadership part as an athlete or activities person or a kid that's putting in the extra time, the platforms that we're able to steward them in, whatever their passions are or will be, right? As they go out and gain these real skills, which are the life skills, the hard work, the dedication, and then not expecting instant gratification. People see you, Coach, and they just think this happened yesterday.
Oh, no, it took a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this so my last year in college, I coached.
What year was that, Coach?
That would have been the '89 season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was done playing. My last playing I played '85 to '88.
Yep.
And then in '89, I was student teaching. I was, and then I would help with football. And I was kind of the long snap coach and the assistant O-line coach at that time because I'd played O-line in college. And I worked with Coach Wilcox. But at the beginning of the season, I'd been the long snapper for the 3 previous years. And he was like, your job is to find me a long snapper. So I go, all right. And so I had that opportunity. Putting in the time, though, when we started was tough coaching. And, my wife, she's always been along the side with me. My role had lessened when I stepped down at campus and was just an assistant, and you know. But she gave me the opportunity to come back here and was supportive of that, and you know, so
We appreciate her coming along the ride with you,
Yeah,
Coach.
so
because
she
it
is-
takes a team at home too.
it is, and she's a 32 years of education. She is now retired from education. Probably we haven't said much about Haley and TJ, but my son and daughter are both educators, and both of their spouses are educators.
Wow.
So
you're committed.
yeah, and you know my daughter's got like a degree in accounting, and she did the accounting for about 6 months and wasn't what she really liked. And TJ, you know, started out in computer science, and then one day came home and goes, I think I'm going to switch my major to PE education. I go, you're not going to be a PE education teacher. So he went into business ed, and both of the kids teach IT, coding, programming, those kind of things. And TJ's wife, Lauren, she was an elementary teacher, and now she's in the district office and teaches curriculum. And then my son-in-law, Adam, is a biology teacher.
So, Coach, did they do sports as well and activities growing up, or were they kind of on their own platform?
They were on their own platform. Don't get me wrong, but they all played sports.
Okay.
They did their thing.
Okay.
You know,
how did you manage that with somebody that has this, frankly, a guy that's looking into your world, that community out there not too far from us is really small in your world, in the coaching world. I mean, you know, it's not a big world, really, when you start looking at it.
Right.
And it's very competitive.
Yeah.
And you've got a pretty big spotlight because you've done some things. You've
Right.
got a reputation, and it's a really great one. So thank you, one, for bringing that to us and your family for putting that on and pouring into our community. And we hope we capitalize and take advantage of what you're offering. That being said, your kids growing up under that umbrella, I mean, it's a big spotlight. That's plain and simple.
It was tough on them.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, being a coach's child isn't always easy, and being their spouse isn't either.
Right,
because
exactly.
you hear a lot of feedback in the stands, so that you might not want to.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, one of the things though is they were always around it. They didn't. I mean, TJ went to a wrestling meet when I was coaching at Derby. He was born on November 17th, and we won the state championship game on November 19th. And my wife and him went to the little celebration after the game. So he's 2 days old, and my wife and him are at the celebration. We came in for about 30 minutes and left. Yeah. But you know,
still.
That was it was such a wonderful week of having our first child, and then celebrating this championship, and then going back to, you know, raising starting to raise our first child, and you know, my wife. But in December we're hosting a JV wrestling tournament, and she's sitting there working at the computer, and my son's sitting there in the car seat in the stroller, and you know, cheerleaders are picking him up and carrying him around, and people are coming in, you know.
Yeah.
And that's just how it always was from the time we had TJ, and then when Haley was born in '97, you know, it was the same thing. And you know, I have a TJ graduated from high school in 13. God, it had to be like 02, 03. We got a punt return for a touchdown, and on the video he's running down the sideline. He was our ball boy, and he couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 then.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It sounds like my brother-in-law and their family. I mean, he's a coach here in Wichita, and his whole family is it's part of their life.
Is that Steve?
Yeah,
Steve
good
Martin.
old Steve Martin.
Well, so when we get going here, Steve is the one that recommended me the book. You went in the locker room first.
Yeah.
He read it with his team, and I asked him about it. He says, "Coach, it was wonderful," and it is. It's been super, super wonderful for me.
Yeah.
John Gordon wrote it with Mike Smith, who was at the time, I think in '07, had just taken the job with the Atlanta Falcons as the
Yeah.
head football coach. So
Yep. It's a great book.
pretty powerful book.
And the points in there are very consistent in the way he lays it all out for us to be successful, and the stories that he tells in between of how to. It's very practical,
Yeah.
and it's not rocket science. It's just being aware.
Yes, and we talk about being positive all the time, and that's one of the things I've learned from some of John Gordon's information, including Mike in the book. But I've also read Positive Leadership by John Gordon, and it talks about the energy bus. And I always like when they talk about the energy vampires, but we have them at work.
Yeah,
I mean, we have them in our life.
Yes,
and,
we do.
You want to be successful. You have to, first of all, surround yourself with really good people and positive people.
Absolutely.
Because negative people bring you down. I don't know. So last year, Eric McCormick was my defensive coordinator, and Eric and I were together at campus. And Eric did a great job for us last year. But due to his wife getting a new job in Arlington, Texas, he left the program this year. So I was very patient in hiring my D coordinator because I had somebody in mind that I wanted to bring in, and I had an opportunity to bring Ray Bowes in this year. And Ray was my D coordinator for 15 years at Rose Hill. And then when I left Rose Hill, he was the head coach for 5 years there. And then when he stepped down, I brought him into campus with me for a year. And then that's when I stepped down. Tried to get him up here last year to come help. But man, just that opportunity, like when I came in, I got to bring in Eric. And you think of some guys like Tad Rimsberg, that's been around forever in Newton, knows everything about Newton, is everything about Newton.
Yeah.
Him and his family. And,
Yeah.
he's done a hell of a job with the track program, and is a great, great football assistant coach. We were at team camp this year, and Coach Bowes and Coach Rimsberg, if you guys know who Coach Rimsberg is, Coach Bowes has the same beard as Coach Rimsberg. Coach Bowes is a little taller than Tad, but they're standing out there on defense together, and you're like, man, is ZZ Top going to perform here after the football? So it's pretty, and having a great staff is so important that people, I had this conversation, Coach Leaks.
Yep.
I was giving him a hard time the other day. I asked him I said, hey, I need a football coach. You want to coach football? He goes, Coach, I know nothing about football. I go, do you love kids? Can you be an energy guy? Are you trainable? Because if you're those three things, I can teach you to coach football. I can't teach you those three things. Those are things you have to have.
That's powerful.
And when he's like, man, you're like selling this. He goes, I bet it would be fun. He goes, I'm going to pass. But, just that opportunity, if you have certain skills, you can coach. Now, we have guys that are on our team that are great X's and O coaches. We have guys that are great leaders. We have great hype people, and that knowledge, when you combine all of that, is what makes a really good staff. And I've always heard as a head coach, you got to always hire people that are smarter than you to be your assistant coaches. And, that's like, I got to hire some young guys because I don't have the energy I had 20 some years ago when I first started.
That's the piece that really intrigues me about you. And you've said it 3 different ways and 3 different times. And I want to stick this to the people that are reading the book that have a message. And those books have similar messages as you go through them.
Yes.
You are aware of your teammates and where you fit into that crew.
Right.
And you know what the team needs, and it doesn't need all of the same. We need a different people to bring different things. And when you're an accomplished leader like yourself and you understand team atmospheres and teamwork, and you teach our kiddos the same thing, and that is invaluable in life to give them a head start on understanding that I don't have to be this person. I could be the best me.
Right.
And then let me nurture my talents and abilities. And sometimes being a servant leader is the best leader you can be on a certain team. It's not about being the superstar all the time.
Right. And you don't just need coaches like that. You need players like that.
That's right.
You got to have different leaders. You got to have that guy that's always intense and hyped up. And then you need to have that silent leader that just comes and works every day.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And, somebody asked me one time, I think I'm a worker. I always look at it that way. I said, I'm not smart enough to sugarcoat stuff. I say what I think. I do what I think's best. And sometimes that catches up with you. But we got to treat kids. They're like, hey, do you have favorites? Yeah, I have favorites. Yeah, the ones that are there working very hard every day and do what they're supposed to do are the kids and it pays off for them. And you got to treat kids. I always tell kids, I will treat you fairly. That don't mean it's equal, because it depends on what you've done before that and up to that, of what's going to happen if a situation arises.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I try to communicate with parents. I think that's important. In the book, you win in the locker room first. It talks about communication, and when it talks about communication, it talks about letting everybody know, what's going on. I try to put out a weekly schedule. On Sundays, it might be at 9:00 at night by the time I get to it. But like last week, I'd post it on Instagram on Friday, and I'd forgot to post it on Twitter till Sunday night. I got to get where when I post that thing, it hits all of the social media. But I think that's important. We got to communicate with school. And one of the best C's of that book is it talks about climate. About, in the communication, it talks about knowing the temperature of your team. And it talks about like coaches going into the training room and talking to guys that are injured and talking to the trainer and being like, hey, what are the kids saying? And,
Mm-hmm.
Talking to your managers and your coaches, like, what's going on? I used one of that part after we started the season last year, 0-4. Went to one of my players, Isaac Klug, and I'm like, how are the guys? Are they still willing to work hard? Are they still positive? And he goes, Coach, they're doing pretty good. They're struggling a little with being 0-4. And we talk about a little what happened with the season last year. We were 0-4 and we don't play in an easy league. People, you gotta strap it on every week, regardless of who you are.
Yes, sir.
And we'd come off being 0-4, and we're playing Arch City team, and it's 0-0. We're really not doing a lot. And right before half, we give up a touchdown to what they call the cat swinging gate, on like the 3-yard line, and we didn't line up right. Well, that might have been the changing point of our season, and because at halftime I got after him pretty good, and I was like, hey, that's on you. You didn't. We practice this all the time. We didn't line up right, and we gave up a score.
Yeah.
And we came out the second half and drove like 8 minutes down and scored 24 unanswered points, and it just, that drive sparked our offense, but just not our offense, but our defense too. They came out and they were, we're going to come back and prove that we shouldn't have done that. And what a changing moment of our season. Had an opportunity to win that game and the next two games, and going into the Derby game, we were 3-4, And so and played Derby a tough game for 2.5 quarters.
Yeah.
They the thing with them
that
is,
was amazing though.
But it was we played a very
Very proud of you guys.
very proud of them, but to change that culture, we got down the road. We got to win some of those games.
Absolutely.
When we had a couple games early on that we could have won and we didn't, and later in we started taking care of things, and that's part of the growing curve. So let's go back to 98 and 99 at Rose Hill.
Yeah.
We won one game in 2 years.
Yeah.
And Coach Bose, who's my D coordinator, comes to me after the season and goes, Coach, if we don't get better next year, I don't know if I can be your D coordinator. And I was like, Coach Bose, if we don't get better next year, I don't know if you or me are going to be coaching here.
Yeah. Being straight up. Yeah.
I'm like, we might have to find something else. Might have to find another job.
Yeah.
So, but we talked about that, and I met with some of the youth coaches yesterday, and we talked about the importance of the strength and conditioning program. And over the years, we've always developed our strength and conditioning programs. But when we talk about changing culture for athletics, so we'll bring this into all sports.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our kids have to believe in themselves, but they also have to put in the work. Not everybody can play football or soccer or volleyball or basketball or wrestling or any sport.
Correct.
Because it takes a lot of work. And the weight room is part of that. And in football, it's a lot easier for us to motivate kids to be in the weight room because we don't have club football. We have football season and strength and conditioning. There's some 7-on-7 opportunities and camps and stuff, but that's when we start talking about sports in general, that football's different because you don't have to deal with all that other stuff. Kids that concentrate on one sport, that plays soccer or, for example, volleyball or basketball, they might just play basketball year round.
Yeah.
And one of the things we were talking about, some of the best athletes I've coached have been 3-sport athletes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to sound negative, but D1 athletes are different.
Send it, Coach.
They're a different breed.
Absolutely.
When you're home playing video games or out with your friends, those dudes or gals, whoever they are working.
Absolutely, they are.
And I've had opportunity for kids that have played at Division I schools that I've coached as a head coach in football. 2 of them at TCU. One of them was a football, basketball, and baseball player. And the other one was football, basketball, and track. Okay, both started at O-line at TCU, were brothers, played for me at Rose Hill. At campus, I had a young man go to South Dakota State. He was a football player and a track athlete. Had some injuries with knees young and just played those 2 sports. Was probably one of the best baseball players in our school and didn't play because of his injuries, and probably could have been a state finalist in wrestling too. And then I had a lineman that went to Butler and then played at Middle Tennessee State this last year, and he was a football track kid, played basketball I think through his sophomore year. Now, 3 of those guys were linemen that all played basketball.
Yeah.
The one that went to South Dakota State could have probably been a basketball rep. He could have done whatever he wanted to. He was a state champion in the disc and a runner-up in the shot. So, here's the thing. we need athletes. And at Newton High School, we need our athletes to be athletes, just more than one sport. And what we don't get at the lower levels is when we start getting into specialty sports, we don't have coaches encouraging kids to be multiple sport athletes. And
Good word, Coach.
it we have to give our kids the opportunity to do more than one thing. Now, my children, they had a choice. They could play sports or they could do whatever they had to do something every year, every season at school.
Yeah.
Stugo, my daughter was part of the K's program, and I know in college, Haley did a little bit of drama, and TJ was big into Stugo, and, but they were all very involved in school. And there's nothing, this weekend, my wife and I went to Wisconsin to visit our friends. One was her roommate in college, and the other guy was the guy I played football with in college. Those are my friends. The people I hang out with are the coaches. Besides family, most of the people we hang out with are educators.
Yeah.
My wife has a group of women. They still meet that they taught several years together. So we have all of those links, but when we're developing kids, they need to do more sports and they need to be part of a strength and conditioning program. And that's what we talk about. Some people get the idea that, well, the only people that are lifting heavy are the football players. Well, the football players are lifting because it's almost mandatory.
Oh yeah. It's
you
a lot
have
of,
to do it.
there was no question when I was in any program where when you say what you say as a coach, yes sir.
Yeah, you have to be in the weight room, and we're just not in there to get big. I don't want big muscle bound guys that aren't flexible. I want guys that are fast, can move around, and that are agile, just like in any other sport. So when we talk about weightlifting, it's not weightlifting, it's strength and conditioning. We want them to get better athletically across the board. Mm-hmm. Strength, speed, agility. Mm-hmm. So we need parents to understand it's not about just bulking up.
Yeah.
And it prevents injury.
Yeah.
And those are things that we got to get better at.
So my son's part of that. We take him in the morning. My son and my daughter. My daughter usually complains about those types of things. She's more of an artist and a musician type, very artistic, very creative. My son is very coordinated. His confidence level has gone up just this summer for what you guys are offering.
So what grade is he going to be in?
He's going to be in 7th grade.
Right.
So he's going into that 7th grade. His first year there, he'll be at Chisholm. And his confidence level from lifting, so when we're out here working, he has to work with me out here on Saturday mornings and cut trees, and we move things, load trailers and stuff. And he wants to show me that he's working. And I'm so proud of him. And I thank you guys for providing that platform. I think another thing is it's what we do with what you guys are doing to encourage it. Hey, bud, you worked hard today, didn't you?
I want the guys, obviously guys like to bulk up a little,
100%.
But
especially at that age.
Yeah.
13, are you kidding?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The girls are like, well, we don't want to be big, but they can, when we do certain lifts that make them faster and make them more explosive, mm-hmm. They're going to help everybody's athletic ability.
Yeah.
And your appearance.
Yeah.
And it's weightlifting. I really enjoyed weightlifting. Probably up till about my last year in college. Yeah. And then it was like, man, I've done this a long time. And, and I was injured and, then it's harder.
Yeah.
But that weightlifting is the things that prevent you from getting injured too.
It does. Flexibility and weightlifting. It's a huge difference. And I enjoyed the weight room way too much, probably till about my sophomore year in college.
Yeah.
And I burned myself out for sure. And I've rebelled ever since, I think, at some level. And I can get back on it and off. But your training systems today, I mean, your game. So I stay in my lane. I wanted to get into youth sports with the progression to the next level for opportunities wherever they lie, NAIA, um, uh, wiffle ball with the intramural sports, to keep them in a community, to keep them moving, to keep them building relationships and having fun, doing healthy things with healthy people, right? The portal, the culture that exists right now with, if I don't get what I want, I'm out of here. I see so much damage for a coach that has built environments like you've been a part of building since, I mean, your whole life, but really in practice since 88, 89. And now you come in and you're borrowing from these guys with 30, 40 years of experience, and you're going through the crucible of action all of these years, and you see a player, and I know this in theory. I'm not in your shoes. That was what I wanted to do, my passion. I love good coaches because they change lives, because that's why I get to do what I do every day, because of a coach and coaches and many coaches throughout. I've got a coaching lineage that I'm just so blessed. Like I couldn't have wrote it out any better. Every person that came into my life that coached me has given me so much. So for me to create an environment for that platform to be used for other people like me that need these people to pour into people like myself is so important to me, to get this message out to people. When you're looking at what you do and all the facets and layers, a good coach will see a freshman or a sophomore, and maybe that sophomore could be on varsity or should be playing more, but there's some mental weaknesses there and some certain things that other people don't see that a good coach will see, where you need to steward them through that. But in today's environment, with all the sideline quarterbacks that don't understand what's going on in that family unit, when that team locks in and you guys come out of camp, that's y'all's business. You know what's going on there.
Right.
You know your players. You know who needs to be maybe held out just a little bit to get them through that stuff and to bring that commitment in a little deeper, right? You understand all this. The person that wants to go to college and not play their freshman year and get shipped out on a portal, when the coach has a vision and loves that kid enough to play the long game for them, that just really worries me where we're going with all that. How do you see that, Coach? How are you unpacking that with the culture of sports right now and what's going on with youth sports as well?
All right, let's start with youth sports.
Okay.
If I can tell a parent to do anything, let your son and daughter play all sports, because you don't know what they're going to be good at yet. And you won't maybe know until they're a sophomore or junior in high school. So be patient. Let them play sports. Let them learn. The more activities they're involved in different sports, the better they develop as an athlete and a person. And they learn to compete for positions. I remember when I was a seventh grader, I'd always been one of the football players. In my seventh grade year, I was on the B team. That was hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the year, I'd gotten a little better, and that they kept some for the eighth graders. And one of the varsity kids didn't want to, or one of the 18 guys didn't want to stay, and they got me an opportunity to go up and practice with the eighth graders for a while. And so you got to wait for your opportunities, and you got to be patient, and kids will develop. And so get them involved in sports. Middle school, have them play football, cross country, basketball, wrestle, volleyball, basketball, track. All middle school athletes should run track, bar none, unless they're tennis players that play in the spring or there's another sport in that spring. But all middle school kids, if you're a baseball player and you play, because we don't have middle school baseball, they need to be out for track, because they are learning how to run, how to be a better athlete. all running events are going to make you faster. All throwing events are going to make your feet better. All jumping events are going to make you more powerful. So I think it's important for them to do. That's just my opinion.
No, yeah,
You know,
100%.
and I was a baseball guy. Baseball might have been my best sport.
Huh.
You know, you just couldn't hit anybody all the time like you do in football. That's why I love football. I mean, I love football. It's what I love doing. But overall, I could have probably went at a higher level in baseball.
Yeah.
You know,
Interesting. Yeah.
So, but get them involved. And in high school, in a town like Newton, Kansas, we need our athletes to be athletes. We need our girls to play multiple sports. If they play volleyball, basketball, you know, and now wrestling's involved with. I mean, it's getting huge. It's growing, especially in this area.
That's great.
You know, with girls sports, and then you know, I always tell my football players, I don't mess with baseball players. If you're going to play baseball in high school, go play baseball, okay? But if you're not going to play baseball, you need to be out for track. You need to be running, throwing, jumping, whatever you can. I want my linemen, I get linemen that are like, I just want to play football. I don't want to play basketball. I don't want to wrestle. Well, being a lineman, you need basketball, wrestling, and track and baseball to develop different skills to stay in shape and then to develop movement, you know.
Well, the calisthenics and the stretching, all that keeps them from injury as well.
You know,
I mean,
I will tell you, we talk girls sports. If you want to see girls sports, go to Washburn Rural High School. That's where my daughter coaches. The head volleyball coach is the head girls basketball coach too. And you know, 2 years ago, their volleyball team went pretty deep, and then they won a state basketball championship. And then the next year, the volleyball team won a state championship. The basketball team were runner-ups.
Huh.
And those same girls are playing soccer and softball in the spring. Yeah, and their wrestling team was state champions this last year in the winter.
Can you imagine how close they are?
Oh, I know. And you know, my daughter's been a part of that. And, you know, so you see that. And they are being successful because their girls are going out for sports. That's just one example. So parents, I mean, let them play. Let them be let them be athletes. Let them be students. And not everybody wants to be an athlete. Yeah. But if your son or daughter, they need to be involved in something.
Right.
You know, activity.
Yeah, they got band,
drama.
Yep.
K's Club, Stugo, robotics.
Robotics is a big one.
Esports now.
Yeah.
My son coaches esports and robotics.
That's cool.
You know, my daughter coaches volleyball and basketball, and her husband coaches volleyball, coaches basketball and baseball, and Lauren, my son's wife, coached tennis. You know, and that's another thing that we struggle with is in the education field is getting young teachers, educators to coach. Because
was it not a problem when you started out back when?
No, I couldn't get a football job at the high school for 3 years, and I played in college.
So everybody was clamoring to be there.
Oh, everyone wanted to be part of it.
Now they're running from it.
Yeah.
What's going on, Coach? Are you able to let go a little bit, or this is not the time?
I don't mind talking. This is my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm an educator through and through.
Yeah.
I would hope I am. And I approach education maybe differently than other people. I mean, and we talked about this before we started. We're in the kid business.
Yeah.
And there's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days. I guess all over those years I've learned how to deal with the bad days. Because the good days are easy. The bad days aren't always easy. I've seen some things that You know, I've seen some bad things over the years with kids, and but they need us to be there. We're in the kid business, and we choose to do that. Some days are harder than others. Really, they are. And you got to learn. You got to learn how to deal with that, and that's tough.
Yeah.
And some days are tough, and you're like, "Ah." But I've never. I don't know what else I would have done. I really don't, Andy. I. This is what I love to do. I get to go up every day and talk about football and work with young people. And does everybody love Coach Slade? No, no. Do some people think Coach Slade's tough on them? Yeah. Do some of them think I'm easy on them? Probably yes. But we have to do what's right for kids. Bar none. Every time we make a decision, it has to relate to the kids. And we talk about culture change. We got to do things right. We got to do things successful. We got to expect our kids to do better. I'm not their friend. I'm their coach, their teacher, their mentor. When things go bad, we talk about it. Things go good, we celebrate. When things happen that are not good, and I think this is in life in general, we have to learn how to move on and make it better. And that's looking back to when we talk about being positive.
Yes, sir.
We got to move forward positive.
That's right.
Because if we don't, then it's never going to get better. You know, have I had setbacks as a coach and a teacher? Oh, yeah. Lots of them. How you respond to success and failure kind of tells people who you are.
Absolutely.
And who you become. And when you ask me that, I'm just Coach Slade. No, you're going to get the same person most days. That's one of the things we talked about in You Win in the Locker Room First, too. It's being consistent.
Yes.
And I ask my players, if we lose on Friday night, am I going to change what we do on Monday? No. We're going to still go to work and do what we're supposed to do. I'm still going to do what I'm supposed to do on Saturday and Sunday to prepare for Monday. Now, if we win, I might have a little more pep in my step on Monday than I would if we lost.
Yeah, being real about it, yeah.
But it's my job as the head coach to make sure that we're moving forward and not backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from my attitude.
Yeah.
And that comes in your job. In anybody's job, your attitude when you step in the day, if it's negative, it's going to bring people down. If it's positive, you're going to bring people up.
That's right.
And we got to look at that in anything we do in life. You know? I mean, I don't know anybody that likes to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like to lose in Scrabble to my wife, and my wife was an English gifted teacher. Never beat her in Scrabble, you know? We talk about that. People laugh about that. Well, I'm a terrible speller, too, so that don't help me. So, but we have to do things that we're not good at to get better at them.
That's right.
And you know, parents, I just let your sons and daughters guide them, help them, be part of their youth, be involved, be engaged with them, be parents to them.
That's awesome, Coach. Time's coming to an end here, but what I like to do is there a question I didn't ask you or something that you would like to say to the community? And I know the community's asked me personally because I've been trying to figure out. I'm going to meet with the Junior Raider Football Club next week, and we're going to have our podcast right after you, and they're going to be able to see this before they come on. And I'm really trying to create that synergy and that nucleus where we want to fall in behind you and your program. We know you've done great things, the attitude, the talk, that there's something happening in Newton. We've heard that this is year 2, and we're starting to hear that. For me, having my brother-in-law and that whole big circle of people that we know out there, say that for the first time in a very, very long time, Coach. There's a lot of hard work that goes behind that a lot of our community is not seeing. You're a crock potter. That's who you are. It's what you do. You're not a microwave dude. What is it that we could do to support you? But more importantly, we're going to be working on that. And I just know that we have our ear to the ground. We're going to be watching you and trying to fall into the best of our ability because people are people. But do you have a message for our community? What are you telling people? What are they getting off of you? What is that vibe where people are saying there's something happening in Newton? And it's around your program. What's going on, man?
First of all, you know, since coming to Newton, my wife and I have been welcomed, and it's been a really good move for us. You know, we enjoy the community and be patient. I mean, it, you talk about oven or microwave, it's going to take a little while.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I told, you know, the gentleman I met with yesterday. It's like, it's not going to happen overnight. Last summer, we had about 150 to 175 kids signed up for strength and conditioning. This year, we're about 275. Now, we don't get 275 every day. But down the road, we need to have 300 kids involved in our strength and conditioning and going every day.
Yeah.
Or, you know, when they're here, not sleeping in, not, you know, not just football players.
Everybody.
We're just not talking about changing the football program. And you know, Brian Becker and I talk about this all the time. It's about changing everything. Everything. And it, you know, we have a very strong wrestling program.
Absolutely.
We build on that. Man, in the fall, and I might be a little biased here, okay? I'm a football coach, so understand that when I say that. Man, when you have that football winning season, success, it changes the building. It changes the other sports because we're the first ones to start off the season on a run, you know. In you know, every program I've been a part of have had really good fall soccer programs as well as football programs at the end of the tenure, you know. And that's important for them all to do that. But that, you know, that camaraderie for football is different than any other sport.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many people involved. And you played the sport. And only the people that played understand what I'm saying truly, you know, because when I talk about the people that I still talk to, that I went to college with and high school with, they were football players.
Yeah.
You know, they were part of our team.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I like that message, but we got to be patient. Keep our kids involved. Parent them up. Be involved with them. Let them know. You know, I know that sometimes you want your sons and daughters to be at this level and they're not. Be patient with them. It'll come around. I mean, I remember, I know when the difference was me and an athlete is between the beginning of my sophomore year till the start of my junior year. You know, because that's when I started changing as a person. You know, and so, you know, I've seen kids as freshmen that people are like, yeah, this young man may never play.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Don't know that.
Don't know that.
That's right.
Because a lot can change in 3 years. Your body changes, your mentality changes, your work ethic changes. So just be patient.
Yeah, 7th to 9th grade, I was actually a pretty good athlete, I would think. I mean, I was, you know, my coaches relied on me to do things, and I really appreciated that, and I fought for that. I was grateful that they would allow me to be a leader on the team. And something was going on with my body and changes and growth from 7th to 9th grade. It was rough because everybody caught up to me. And then there was some things I had to deal with personally, dealing with some of that. But then the shakeout, because we stuck with it, and I had great coaches that poured into me in a way that was just, they're still my heroes today. I don't want to let them down. It changed everything for me, and they stuck with me and I stuck with them. But I tell you, that relationship that I have with those men and women that brought me up and that pushed me at track practice, that pushed me at baseball practice when I was doing my track workouts and then running, sprinting to get to baseball practice and not trying to be late because I knew those rules applied for me, even though I had track practice, and giving me avenues to be that person, right? Going from football to basketball season and that transition of leaving our game and getting home at 1 o'clock in the morning and being at our first practice at 5, knowing coach was watching to see if I was man enough to show up, right? All of these opportunities they gave me, I was remembering running to practice after my last football game, hurting because I was going to miss the team, but I was ready to transition to basketball, thinking he's going to freak out when he sees me there first, right?
Yeah, I mean, all of those things, Andy, are important. You know, that willing to just effort and make it important.
Yes, sir.
I think it will. It develops young minds and young bodies, and it makes them better adults.
Coach, I want to do this again. Thank you for everything you're doing, and just know that it's noticed, and I'm proud that you're a railer. Thank you for pouring into our kiddos and our community, and I see the crock pot moves already happening. I love the language that's coming in around you, your strength, your steadfast ability to project leadership the way you do with love and care and grace, but yet strong. And our kids need that. Our families need to borrow from you and lockstep with what you're doing and how you bring what you bring into our. I just see all the people who poured into you flowing through you. And when you get emotional, when you talk about those people you love, we got to go out there and change some lives, brother. They need us.
Oh yeah, and I want to thank you for having me on. And you know, the last thing before I part, I want to say thank you to my family for allowing me to be Coach Slade and my wife, Lisa.
Coach, love you, brother. Thank you for what you do. Let's go get it. Thank you. Yep.